Good evening, good morrow, and good morning, all you incredibly magnanimous, magically Masonic brethren out there. You'd never believe who I've gotten back in my day. Back in the studio again today. Welcome to one and the only, our Masonic TikTok warrior, educator, and finesse majiggle. These are words now. Brother Fluff, welcome. How are you doing, my man?
Hey, what is happening, my brother? I am so excited to see you again. I'm sad that it's not like last time when it was face to face, hugs to hug, love to love.
Dude, you're huge.
But
I was fully expecting like TikTok does not capture the I mean, he's a big man. I'm not talking big, I'm talking like you looking up. It's like the straight Texas. Everything's bigger in
well,
Texas.
hey, I'm not gonna throw any names out there. All right, he's not here to defend himself, but there is a Texas brother who happens to like to say that I am like 5'7", 5'8". He's full of bull, right? I mean, come on, come on.
Full of absolute nonsense. I was like, and literally, like, I was looking. So, for everybody to get you up on the know, I had the incredible honor and pleasure to get a face to face with not just Brother Fluff, but to sit in his lodge with the Grand Master of Texas and many more
Yeah.
incredible brethren. And it's one of those Masonic moments that I will hold on to forever. But I'm
Yeah.
sitting here, I get into this building, the sun has not even come up yet. And I'm looking, I'm like, where is he at? I've met every other brother at this point. I've gone to the kitchen, done the rounds, and then I walk into what I thought was a tree. Like, this should be, holy shit, it's Fluff. It was insane. But just in general, I'll tell you what, for all of you traveling boys out there, get on the road, get out there,
Yes.
meet your heroes.
Yes.
Because when you do, it's incredible. Now,
Oh my gosh, it takes a whole, like, we knew we're brothers. We've done this interview before. We've talked in private on Facebook and text message and phone call. We've shared our problems with each other. We've shared our growth and our excitement with each other. But nothing brings the brotherhood home when you get to take that brother and get him in that manly hug. You know what I mean? It just
it's
wow.
it's all about the grit, baby.
Especially with that day, because you guys don't understand. I literally called Hippie like, I don't know, 2.5 weeks before the event and was like, hey, um, Grandmaster was talking to me today and he'd like to see if you could come down. Would there be any way you can come down from Colorado to Texas? And he was like, let me make some phone calls and see what I can do. This guy did it. He went way beyond his cable toe to come and hang out with all of us and interview the Grandmaster and interview all the TikTok brethren in my area, because I think he was surprised about this too. We happen to be like a TikTok hub in my
Holy
city.
shit, it's not a joke. So a lot of times being in from the more rural places or just some of the more like Colorado's,
Mhm.
it's different, right? Even Missouri, it's different. I got down there and everybody's like, no, at. This is their handle. This is their username. This is their
Yeah.
it's incredible. And that's one of the reasons that I was so. That's why we picked a fluffy boy here, and that's why I've got you back on the show today. Is because
Yes, sir.
you are active, you are engaged when it comes
Yeah.
to social media and that irritating motorcycle going by too loud. You are present and engaged. So to get you back on the interview, the purpose here is because I'm fascinated with the work and the service that you've done and with the different appendant bodies. Now,
Right.
do tell me what give me all your acronyms, your letters. What all are you a part of within the crowd?
Oh, Lord. Well, let's just start from the beginning. I'm first and foremost, I'm an entered apprentice Mason, fellow craft Mason, and master Mason in the 3 degrees of Blue Lodge Masonry. In my opinion, the most important degrees of all of Masonry, because you can't start a dang thing afterwards without going through those degrees. And as soon as you're in that 3rd degree, I want to make it 100% clear. 3rd degree Master Mason is as high as you go in Masonry. Once you reach that level, there is no other level to take. So everything else is just a little bit of that extra sweetness. So right after I was raised as a Master Mason, almost, I don't know, 10 months later, I joined Rite. And Rite, what a lot of people don't know, is actually 3 bodies under one name. So you have the chapter, council, and commandery. Um, Chapter and council you can go through 100%, and you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be whatever. It's just like Blue Lodge, and it's the expansion and foundation of those first 3 degrees. Commandery, however, is where you declare your faith and declare by your honor that you're going to defend the Christian faith. So being a Christian, I was able to take that obligation to heart, and I became a Sir Knight. So in Rite alone, these are my titles. I am a Royal Archmason. I am a super excellent master mason, and I am a Sir Knight. So, I mean, that's the highest titles within those bodies there. Right after the York Rite, I joined the Grotto, which was crazy because there wasn't even a grotto in my area at the time that I joined the Grotto. We happened to be a chartered organization. So I am the first person, or not the first person, I'm one of the first members of this grotto to be in this grotto. So on the back of the charter, we have it. We're going to get it framed, but it will be framed. And on the back of the charter, if somebody wishes to take that charter apart one day, or maybe the supreme monarch comes down and is like, "Give me that charter," he will see Fluffy's real name signed on the back of that charter. And that is really cool because in my area, I don't know about your area, my area, there's literally organizations and bodies that are hundreds of years old, or not hundreds, but 105, 110,
They
120.
got some legacy to them.
Yeah. Getting involved in a charter body is very rare nowadays. Like everything Masonic has been thought of under the sun, pretty much. So it's a little hard to get in that, but I was super excited not only to get in the grotto for that reason, but also some of the other reasons, which we'll go into later. But in the grotto, I'm called a prophet. So I am a prophet in the grotto.
Sexy. That's sexy.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite title you've given thus far.
And then of course, my wife really enjoys hanging out with the shrine ladies, and we were paying the money to go to the shrine parties, and somebody was like, you join the shrine, you don't have to pay as much money. Okay, well, I'll join the shrine. And so my wife kind of coerced me into getting into the Shriners, and now I am a noble in the Shriners, and I'm in the carts unit. And man, let me tell you something. It is crazy. It is a lot of fun, and it is super, super special to me to be involved as actively as I am in everything, and to have my wife's support and my kids' support. I mean, they miss me, but when I can take my kids to lodge, I take my kids to lodge. When my wife can go to lodge with me, I take my wife to lodge. So it's not me just like, hey, I'm going out on a guy's night. It's like, hey, you want to go? Yes or no? If they decide to come, they come, and I love it. And all the other brothers, their wives do the same. And so we're forming these little cliques. The kids are all planning, like, hey, let's go spend that night at so-and-so's house. And I'm like, oh, Lord, because one night all these kids are going to come to my house, and it's going to be terrible, but we're going to get through it. But it's becoming so much fun, and I really do enjoy the time. Everybody is a new dues fee. Even in York Rite, the 3 bodies in York Rite, it's another dues fee. Everything is a little bit more dues, but I also have to mention as well, not only did I join all those bodies, but you were there. The Texas Lodge of Research was at our lodge.
Got to join them. Boom.
Yeah.
Just got that paid.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get my notice of intent working on that. I've got research papers up. I got some homework on that. Texas Lodge
of Research is amazing. And I have petitioned for that, and I hope I get in. My top signer is the Grand Master of Texas. I don't know. So hopefully Most Worshipful carries some clout there.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But my research paper is going to be completely fluffy, and we'll see if it gets passed. And then not only that, but I am in the process of joining another Blue Lodge so I can get in another officer's line and help support that lodge as well. So it's crazy.
Anybody wanted the definition of masochism, you're just going to see a picture of Fluff. There's beautiful brother Fluff right there. But
it's so much fun though.
Yeah, because that's the thing. And I think that one of the most captivating parts for this, you've talked about really a community. This isn't one single thing. Like I'm a dual member, and oftentimes I struggle to kind of keep up with movements and that in my esoteric searches and seekings within the craft. But the community and the family, and I'll be honest, you get down to Texas, especially down by Lubbock, man. This is a family. It is a community. Not just that everybody know everybody, but they're there for everyone. It's not these distant far spaces. Distance may as well not exist. You get in there, and they're so tight. They're so cool.
Well, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. It hasn't always been this way. And it wasn't me that did this, but the community as a whole, the oldest lodge in my area is Yellow House 841. Crash Dog happens to go to that lodge. I never knew Crash Dog before I started doing TikTok. Figure that one out. He lives 15 minutes away from me, and he goes to a lodge that's 20 minutes away from me, and I had never met him. Don't know how. But when we finally met, we clicked. And I think everything was in the process of starting that community building again, because we do have a couple of lodges in the area that need some help, need some support. So we're pulling from other lodges to help come in and rebuild those lodges and get them back on their feet. So the ideas and the thoughts were there for community. But what really, really kicked it off in my mind is the creation of one of my Facebook pages. It's a traveling page, and we just set up a radius around Lubbock. We'll go 2 hours outside of Lubbock and visit any lodge. Well, originally that was just for my lodge. I was just going to do it for my lodge. And then other brothers were like, hey, well, can Daylight come? Can Lubbock Lodge come? Can Yellow House come? And I'm like, yeah, everybody, come on, let's go, let's party. Now we go to this lodge in little old Spur, Texas, which I know that nobody knows about Spur, Texas. And
no,
brothers
you
Spurs,
hold up right there. I know Spur. I almost moved
you know
to Spur
Spur
because it's a tiny house community. It's a tiny house
Yes.
community. It's one of the few
Yes.
places in all of Grandall, Texas that's open and accepting to this kind of different law. So when you say Spur, baby, talking crazy ass
Yeah.
panhandle, like God hates the weather there, but oh my God.
That's where my dad's family's from. So I grew up around Spur, and I was like, one of the first chances I get to travel, I'm going to Spur Lodge because I've driven by it a million times as a kid. I want to go in it now since I can. So, but I get to Spur Lodge, and those Spur boys are like, hey, well, this is a pretty good idea here. Y'all mind if we go to Matador with you if y'all are ever in that area? Yeah. Let's do it. 2 months later, we'll go to Matador. So we go to Matador, Spur guys show up. And then we go to Floydada, and the Matador guys and the Spur guys show up. It becomes a community event. And all of it is communication. That's all it is. Telling people where you're going, when you're going, and how to get there. That fixes all those problems. That makes masonry more real.
Okay, that is exactly right. Because I'll be honest, you've got a lot of brethren, and I'm not going to say today, but just in general, right? A lodge is a living organism, and
oh yes,
each one of them is different. It's individual. It's got different wants, drives. I mean, so being able to communicate cohesively, right? This goes back even to some of our second degree, right? It's very, very important. Yeah. as a crucial skill. So what encouraged you? And I'll be honest, that's why you came on here the first time, right? Is because you are a meticulous user of social media
yes.
and technology. So really what was some of the backlash? You talked about, it hasn't always been like this. As you've been working to build this community, have you personally had to, take anything on individually, raise up that guard, so to speak?
Yes. Actually, I had to deal with it a little bit today. I had to do to be completely honest. I'm not going to throw any names out there. I'm not going to talk bad about brothers, because that's one thing that we don't do on social media. When I say we, I mostly mean me, because there are brothers that will come on my channels and talk crap about me all day to my face, forget that I'm the brother behind the camera. Sometimes we forget that. So yeah, a lot of times, I was raised in 2020, October 13th, 2020. I am still a baby Mason. I don't know all my ritual. I don't know all my rules. I don't know all the edicts. I can't quote the law book. I am not that type of guy yet. Do I respect it all? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the biggest problem on social media is the jurisdictional differences that we each have. I'm sure when you came and sat in lodge in Texas, you saw a lot of different things in the way they do in Colorado. In fact, you told me, yeah. So we have those jurisdictional differences and those things that just might not mesh up and line up all the time. So today, for instance, I get a message from a brother from a whole nother jurisdiction. Hey, I don't like it whenever you use some mode it be at the end of your videos. That's kind of my tagline. I know what so mode it be means. I know how to use it properly, but I don't know when I started doing this. I don't know how it came about, but I used so mode it be at the end of one of my videos, and some followers loved it. And I'm going to kind of appease my followers just a little bit here, just a little. And so I went through this whole deal explaining why I use it and all that. And he got really booty hurt, and he didn't like it at all. And he informed me if I ever use it again in his group, I will get dismissed from the group. Well, okay. Because whenever I run my pages, I've had brothers who have actively done stuff that I asked them not to do. My traveling page is for traveling. I've had some brothers get on there and trying to preach. I've had some brothers get on there and kind of do some, crappy posts and crappy memes and jokes. I'm like, hey guys, this page here is just for traveling information, setting up degrees, setting up community service, that type of thing. My other page, well, it's not mine, but it's another brother's page. Our other brother's page, who is running a page that's, almost exactly like this, except for the hangoutness of it all. You can drop as many memes over there. And guess what? He has the same amount of members on his page as I do my page. That means that you guys are all following that page as well. Get on over there. Let's clear this up. So I get a lot of that. Some of it's from old guys that don't know how to use it. Right? There's just some people who don't know how to use this stuff, and God bless them. It is what it is. We are here to train them. We are here to help them. We're here to do whatever we can do. But some people just won't get it. That's fine, and you deal with it. And then I still have the text warriors on the T9. I have quite a few of those guys that have come up to me and been like, "We really want to be a part of your group, but we don't have Facebook because we don't have a phone."
I love
All right,
that
give me your number. I'll
impression.
text you.
I love that impression. I hope you know how many of the Masons in my, you were just the voice of like 60 people I know. That was freaky.
But I will say this, with the negativity, there's always more positivity that comes out of it. And whenever my first channel was getting kind of big, I was still nowhere near Crash Dog, but High Plains Master Mason, Steve Sperry in Yellow House 841, he's the worshipful master there.
I love him.
I showed up to his lodge because I love that guy. He's
cool.
A great guy.
He's so fucking cool.
He is a mentor of mine, and I think he is fantastic. And whenever I'm around him, I just want to talk masonry with him. And I'm sure I drive him nuts. But I'm just like, dude, what do you think about this ritual? What do you think about this? And the funny thing is, he just joined York Rite. So now he's coming up to me and he's like, explain this in chapter, explain this in council. What about the command? And I'm just like, that's my turn. But no, love the guy to death. I showed up to his lodge and just wanted to support him as worshipful master. He's not my worshipful master, but I'm going to support him in his year because I want my brother to succeed. I want this lodge to grow, and I want there to be awesome things to come out of it. I walk in there. At this point, I probably had like 3,000 to 5,000 followers, not very much. And Crash Dog is sitting at 15 or whatever he's at. And Steve was like, this guy right here in the north side is Brother Fluff. I'd like Brother Fluff to stand up. Brother Fluff, tell him about your TikTok and what you're doing. And like the month before, they already talked to Crash Dog about his. And so me and Crash, we literally do the Masonic education over social media for that lodge that night. And at the end of it, there is a 80 to 90-year-old. I don't know how old he is. He is the grumpiest man in Masonry, but we all love him. And he's known for not liking to shake people's hands. He doesn't want to get close to them. He doesn't want to do anything. He shows no love and affection at all. But he comes up to me, and everybody knows that he has this flip phone. He comes up and he goes, well, I don't know what TikTok is, but you keep effing doing it. And then he shook my hand. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he just shook my hand. Is there any witnesses? I'm looking around like searching for somebody. He made sure he shook my hand when nobody was in the hallway. So I had no witnesses to it. Everybody thinks I'm full of crap, but I'll be danged. I got him. And now we're buds. So
it's tight.
My channel is Masonry 101, period. And then it's not about who has the most followers and who can have the most outreach. It's not about that at all. It feels that way sometimes. And sometimes you get in slumps and you get shadow banned and you get pushed way down on the algorithm and you feel it because you do get that dopamine rush from it. I mean, if we weren't receiving the dopamine, if we weren't getting that positive feeling from doing it, we wouldn't be doing it in the first place.
You're not wrong.
So
you're not wrong. I mean, there's a definite kick when you do it. And I miss scrolling through my following page and seeing what my boys are doing. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, how'd that go? That's where I take so much fellowship from that it's an extension of the craft for me.
Yeah. But you have to remember it's a two-sided sword there because I'm very clear on my channel. It's not about recruiting. I am not recruiting. I'm simply connecting the dots between people who don't know anything about masonry, and getting them to a point where they can decide, hey, I may want to petition or I may not want to petition, but I never go out and ask anybody to petition. It's not recruitment. It's simply information, the correct information. So whenever I'm providing this information, some brethren who are more esoteric or more deep in thought, maybe they've actually done lectures, maybe they actually done studies over the topic that I'm talking about on that channel, they'll see me as saying something wrong. Well, I might be saying something wrong, but it's generally I have 60 seconds to get my message out. So I have to compact a whole book of Mike Mackey's encyclopedia into 60 seconds to get my point across and hope that it takes off on the channel. And the first thing you're going to message me is, hey, brother, whenever you said accepted there, you were wrong. It was actually initiated. Oh, man. So I very politely, and I let everybody know, you're my brother. This is stuff that we can talk about. If you want my phone number, brother, you can call me up. I will put on FaceTime. I'll sit on my back porch. We will smoke cigars and drink whiskey together and talk about the differences between the words and talk about the whole difference between the structure of AFM and AFAM masonry. We can do that. We can talk these jurisdictional differences. I'm trying to get somebody who's only heard about Freemasonry through the YouTube University to understand what it
The
really
Altian
is.
children, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you mentioned something earlier, and we were talking about drawing these clean lines between recruitment, and likewise some of
Yeah.
the challenges that I have. So I'm not a part of any appendant body. I'm a Blue Lodge boy,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
happily where I sit. One of the things I feel a lot of times is as soon as I passed that, I got my third degree, it was suddenly like, oh, you need to join, and there was
Yeah.
this plethora of
Yeah.
appendant bodies in different spaces with, like you said, associated dues and things
Mhm.
like that. So where does recruitment fit within Freemasonry? Are there places where that's acceptable? Is that something that if I start seeing, because we've all gotten the crazy ass Illuminati, WhatsApp messages. Where does
Yeah.
recruitment fit, and where do you personally, and where have you seen those lines drawn occur?
It doesn't fit anywhere. Recruitment fits nowhere in Freemasonry, period, even if in independent bodies. The moment I was raised, I was handed a Scottish Rite petition. The only appendant body that I'm not a part of is the Scottish Rite. And it's not because that made me so mad that I didn't want to get in it. It's because I had already made up in my mind of some other places I wanted to go and some other things I wanted to experience. I wanted to experience Freemasonry like George Washington experienced Freemasonry as best as I could. Like Albert Pike experienced it. All those guys went through the York Rite first, and then they joined Scottish Rite. So I'm trying to receive that extra light from the York Rite bodies in order to progress in my Masonic career. That was a personal choice that I made early on. Will I be a Scottish Rite Mason one day? Absolutely. The reason why I say it does not fit anywhere in Masonry, nowhere at all, is because everything we're already made there, right? Everything that we're already made. The moment that you are made a master mason, if it is in your heart and desire to receive more light, you can get all the light, all the knowledge that you want within the body of the Blue Lodge. The first 3 degrees hold all the answers to masonry that you will ever need. It really does. Actually, the first degree, the entered apprentice degree, and I can't tell you on here, but the entered apprentice degree tells you every single answer in Freemasonry.
That it does. That it does. And I'll be honest, you say that, and I'm like, that was one of the first, like, there are riddling bitches in this place, because it's true. There's such deep, the first step you take is the most important.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the problem here too. Whenever you're in an appendant body, let's say I'm going to do some recruiting for the Shriners. Okay. I'm in the Shrine Club. Hey, Brother Hippie, would you like to join the Shrine? It's a really cool thing. You get to help out some kids. Of course, you've heard of, Brother Matthew Holland's story and his whole Shriner experience there. It's a great organization. You're really going to enjoy it. You really need to get into it. And now I ask you every time you come to Blue Lodge, I have a petition with me. It's just ready for you to sign every time. And then as a Master Mason, the hardest word to say is no, right? So you'll probably say no the first 4 or 5 times that you go to Lodge, and this brother just won't leave you alone. eventually you're either going to say no in a mean way to really get him to back off of you, or you're going to give in and you're going to say yes.
Crack that gavel, or you're going to move with the stone.
So whenever we go back to our original lessons of Freemasonry, ask one to be one, or to be one, ask one, whatever. When we talk about the knocks and the importance of the first steps of Masonry and the importance of coming in at your own free will and accord. I mean, this is stuff that we're sharing online all the time. It is of your own free will and accord. You walk in that Blue Lodge. It needs to be of your own free will and accord that you move forward in your Masonic journey. And I think that is what has weakened Masonry, is everybody jump on this body because, well, we could be mad at the Scottish Rite one day. York Rite's mad at Scottish Rite. We're not going to talk to those guys over here. Well, we just weakened the body. Well, now Shriners are mad at York Rite, so we're not going to talk to these guys over here. Well, now we just weakened another body. That's not the way that we're supposed to do things. Every man needs to go at his own time when he's ready. And that's what's really going to be special to me when I do join Scottish Rite, because when I get that chance to be a 32nd degree Mason, I know it will be because it is the time for me. York Rite was the time for me. It was the next step in progress. Grotto, for me, just happened to be, hey, I get to be a charter member of something that I really, really love. I love the whole philanthropy and humanitarianism.
So let's use this as a sexy segue. I love these. What exactly is the Grotto? Because outside of having the coolest title I've heard thus far, prophet.
Yeah.
Ooh, that rings my bell, brother. So give us the breakdown, the deal on what the Grotto is, and why was this an independent body that mattered enough to you to be a chartering member of? That's so cool, by the way.
Well, so whenever I was asked by, what is he going now? He's going by West Texas Haboob, which our grotto is named Al Haboob. You know what? I need to put the grotto fez on it for this discussion. Hold on one second.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we're doing covered up by this lovely fez right here.
We love them, Cap. That's sexy.
My grotto's name is Al Haboob, which means the windstorm, the dirt storm. Okay. If you know anything about Lubbock, you will just Google Lubbock, Texas windstorm, and you'll see one from 2011 where the Haboob was so big you could see it from the International Space Station. We get dirt storms, and when we get them, they are delicious and nutritious. All right. You'll taste them for days. It's in my teeth. We're actually going through one right now as I speak. But I was called, let me tilt this up just a little bit so we can see it, a little more microphone there. I was called in and said, hey, can you come to a special meeting tonight at the York Rite building? And it was during my whole time that I was waiting to get my degrees for York Rite. So I was like, man, the brother who asked me to do this, I'm not sure if he's in York Rite, but this could be me finally getting one of the degrees, surprise. It wasn't that at all. Instead, I walked in and it was like, I'm going to do my best Heath Sutcliffe impersonation. Well, boys, I'm starting a grotto. What's a grotto? And Sperry, he was like, hey, I'm going to be in the East this year. I don't know if I have time to start a grotto and be in the East. And, everybody was him, hawing and all that. It was about 13 brothers in there to hold the official vote, whether or not we were going to do it or not. And I just happened to be a guy who was asked to show up and do it, because this is before TikTok. This is a little bit after my social media, but I wasn't huge in the area. I'm still not huge. I'm just well known, but I wasn't huge in the area like I am today. And so a lot of these guys, it was the first time meeting me, and they're like, well, who's this guy? So we decided to go ahead, vote, start the grotto. And what we were told is that the grotto is another appendant body. It's all the tassel here without the hassle. It's a unique body. So the shrine, who wears the red fezzes with the black tassels, I believe the shrine was formed in the 1870s, if I'm correct, somewhere in there. And then the formation of the grotto was in the early 1900s. I want to say somewhere around 1912. Probably wrong on that one, and somebody can correct me later. But it was early in the 1900s. Basically, a couple of brothers, they were going for a Royal Arch chapter degree, and they got together and they were having such a good time. They were playing jokes on each other, and and just messing around, it became a more than once a year event for them. They would just meet up and just play practical jokes on each other. I'm serious, practical jokes on each other. And some other brothers saw all that fun. Sounds familiar. Some other brothers saw the fun and said, hey, we want to join this thing. And so they formed a grotto. And a grotto in the definition is a cave.
Yeah, I
But
guess
they,
that's where I was confused. Just because like on a certain
yeah,
space, I was like, grotto. Okay.
yeah,
Riddle me this, Batman.
yeah. Well, I can't tell you all the secrets, and honestly, I don't know them because I've only gone through the short form initiation. I hope to go to Cleveland one day and watch them do the whole full form because apparently it's almost like a Vegas show. There's over 30 cast members in this degree with talking parts. There's props, there's sets, there's set changes. It's a 3-hour degree. So I hope to see it in its full form, but it's talking about going through the grotto. And, if I remember right from most of my mysticism class, and since we're called the, what is it? The Mystic Order of the Veiled Prophets of the Eternal Realm.
Oh, I have to go
Yeah.
change something real quick. That's just, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. So let's see if I can say that again. Mystic Order of the Veiled Prophets of the Eternal Realm. Something like that. MOVPER. Yeah. So that would tell you where that grotto is, right? If it's an eternal realm, it's going someplace. And this is completely symbolism. It's not anything well known, so don't take my word for it. But I can imagine what this play is like based off of that. But it's a huge play. Apparently, it has a great life story with it, or life lesson with it, and it's very, very cool. So yeah, we were talking about this, and we decided to start it off. Those brothers met, they did the thing, they built it, and it's in a lot of states there was actually a grotto before there was a shrine, but it had some downfall when the shrine really started, and I don't know the real reason why, right? But I can assume it's because the grotto they at the beginning they mostly went for just humanitarian efforts and philanthropy, right? I can never say that word. They went for that. They didn't necessarily make it for a specific group of people at first. The shrine immediately went after kids. We're going to help the kids. We're going to help the kids. We're going to help the kids. So whenever you had brothers who were ready to join, and back in this time too, you got to remember the shrine. If you wanted to be a shrine member, you had to go through the grotto, or I'm sorry, you had to go through the York Rite, or you had to go through the Scottish Rite.
That's right. I forgot about that requirement. It wasn't just Master Mason. It was like, no, you got it. Do you think, on a side note, just as a quick one, do you think we should put that back? Do you think that should still be a requirement to join the shrine?
No, not until certain requirements are met. And that is that the appendant bodies themselves have to be healthy enough to where they're doing all the degrees individually and not festival style.
Amen.
Because festival style masonry, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I actually had a discussion with a brother today. He took a 1-day class. He was really excited. I wasn't understanding what he was talking about, and I wasn't trying to be rude at all, but I didn't know what he was talking about when he was asking me some things about this cipher book and this thing here. And I'm like, dude, just learn your work, man. And he's like, well, I did a 1-day class.
Oh shit, we're starting here.
Okay. All right. Now I know where you're at and what you're talking about. But when you have 1-day classes, when you have festivals, and I don't think that everybody, you should be able to have to return proficiency and whatnot, but it needs to be widely known well enough where you can actually have esoteric talk within your lodges, within your bodies, and communicate before you start putting requirements on, hey, to get to this, you got to be in this first. Because I'll be completely honest, I'm in those 3 bodies of York Rite, and before we start doing any sort of modes of recognition, I have to go with the known brother and say, hey, okay, so this degree is this degree is this degree is this, because it's a lot of information. I just lost all your audio.
Helps if I, hold my finger down. I do that every time. Because So that I'm a deliberate advocate against any 1-day course, any 1-day class, unless there is such an exemplifying condition whereby that was the only way, the only right. You got some, some brethren who they're stationed overseas.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I'm not in Scottish Rite. I can't say it. I don't know what the reason is behind them. Um, and not talking trashing about my companions in Sir Knights, but I think in York Rite, a lot of it is there's not enough people who show up to the meetings, and there's not enough people who know the work well enough to be able to deliver it with confidence. Uh,
so
Even if
that's
you have
that
to
part.
read out of a book, you should be able to deliver it with confidence.
Okay, that's everything. That's everything. Confidence is sexy. I talked about that
Mhm.
before on the TikToks, especially when it comes to why I love being in lodge, because the energy that you get to surround yourself by and with, especially down in Texas, I'm taking a good shout out.
Yeah.
That confidence there is everything. And
Yeah.
so I'm personally, I voluntarily gave back my first and second proficiencies. Still haven't done
Mhm.
the Master Mason one yet. But there's an aspect to it, even coming from like high ceremonial magic, and sacrifice and offering are required for all things if you really want to make it count for you as an
Yeah.
individual. And
Yeah.
learning your proficiencies, delivering them back, having to do
Mhm.
something which is
Mhm.
difficult, right? This is important,
Yeah.
especially when you consider the undertaking of becoming a better man or morally
Yeah.
evaluating yourself. So you
Yeah.
talk about, how I agree. I'm on board with that entirely. You talk about going
Mhm.
into these other spaces. If they don't have the fluid dynamics to impart the necessary ability to communicate and to give those lessons in such a
Yeah.
cohesive way, you will die. It's like you
Yeah.
make it too hard. There's so many
Yeah.
sects and groups that you don't see anymore because people can't keep up. They can't do those things anymore, be it via culture change, whatever the reason.
Exactly. Exactly. And to bring it back around to the original question, the reason why that's important to me and why we shouldn't tie the in order to get to Grotto, in order to get to Shriners, you have to be York Rite or you have to be Scottish Rite. That main reason is because if you have a Master Mason come out of Blue Lodge and he finds something he enjoys, by God, let him enjoy it. Let him get in there.
All right.
Let him get in there and be a part of it. Um, at some point it does make us weaker, but at another point, it is that man's journey to do as he wishes. But if we got to a point, and I don't see it happen in my lifetime, if we got to it in a point where every council, every chapter, every commandery, every valley um, was able to deliver that work and have, I don't, maybe smaller festivals where it's not like 20, 40 guys getting it at once. Maybe it's just like 5 or 3. If we got to that point where every commander, everybody could do that at one time, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's think about that. But until the education, knowledge, and the light is shining as bright as it can, I'm not about that. Let's not hinder somebody else's progress.
That's one of the things and I've gotten into some very intense conversations with brethren about the purpose of Blue Lodge, and
Yeah.
oftentimes I hear many brethren come back to the same point, and that's the Blue Lodge, whether we like it or not, serves as a filter. It
Hmm.
serves as this, a grand catch-all in many ways to kind of help direct a crossroads, if you might,
Yeah.
into where that individual brother's light is best
Yeah.
to be placed in service.
Well, I hate
What's
to
your
say
opinion
it,
of the
but
Blue Lodge?
In Texas, the way we deliver our work in the EA degree, well, every degree, but in the EA degree, it's all mouth to ear. We return the first, second, obligation, and third section of the EA, mouth to ear. No cipher books, no code books, no nothing. Okay. Not even prompting. So we deliver that. And what ends up happening is that EA degree becomes the filter, and only 23 to 15% of the EAs who get entered, who get made Masons as an entered apprentice actually move forward to the Master Mason degree. But that 23% who move forward to the Fellowcraft degree, boy, when they get there, it's a very high retention rate when they get to the master. So, there's very little drop off unless it's just, hey, I moved, I can't get it and all that stuff. But it's not because of the inability to turn in the work. It's just because life happens.
I
So
mean, shit.
I don't like it to be that way though. I don't. If I could have it my way, the retention rate of an EA would be 75%. That's what I would love to do.
All
And
right.
it takes a
So
lot to do that.
devil's advocate on this one, right? When we
Mhm.
look at some of the changes where I'm not going to say, I hear everybody. I'm not going to say everybody, but I like doing it.
Yeah.
I say guard the west gate. Guard the
Yeah.
west gate. I've had some conversations with brethren and brothers as far and wide, where they're like, I don't think we should let everybody in, and we shouldn't.
No,
I mean, like,
no, no,
you
no, no, no.
know, there is an importance to setting that filter, setting that standard, setting that expectation. I think the York Rite does a really good job at this.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Um, you know, I'll be completely honest with you. I heard Guard the West Gate first time on Discord as an entered apprentice Mason, and I went to one of my mentors and I was like, what the heck is guarding the West Gate? I have no idea what this is. And he was like, I don't know. So a lot of the guys in my area didn't even know what it was talking about. So we sat down and we finally talked about it one day. But no, there's a gentleman, I just forgot his name, but he's a guy from Texas who goes around the lodges at Texas and has a wonderful lecture about guarding the West Gate. And you know, it's more than us saying, "Hey, man, you don't fit in masonry," right? Um, it shouldn't be that way, and it should never be that way. What you do when you guard the West Gate of your lodge is you are telling this person that you don't fit into this place. So unless it's by some jurisdictional law, maybe a felony or some random charge, or you know, whether a brother can come up and say, "Hey, I have proof that this happened. He never got legal action for it, but I have proof." Okay, that type of stuff there, anything that takes you out of good character or merit, absolutely you don't belong in masonry. To be in masonry, you have to be measured up by your character and merit 100%. So unless if it's just something like I don't know, and it's not supposed to be this way, but I'm sure it still happens. In the rural areas, you're going to have Christian lodges. And if you have somebody who's not a Christian, they might not be able to get in if they're open about not having the Christian faith. And really and truly, do I like it? No, I don't like it, because I don't think that is the way that the law works, especially in our jurisdiction. But I respect the brother's decision to have the lodge the way they want to have the lodge. Now, what they don't understand is their future actions. Their actions are going to have ramifications for their futures. They might be able to grow in the future, or they might decline. And so one day they might be sitting here 30 years from now thinking, man, I wish we didn't kick all them petitioners out the door. But at the same time, it's their lodge. They have the right. But we shouldn't just throw them out of masonry and not give them the chance to have any sort of fraternal brotherhood there. So it's a balance, and it's difficult to really, hey, you might not want to turn in that petition this week. You might not want to do that here. Let me tell you, there's another lodge that's a little bit further away. You might try those guys out. They're a little bit more your speed. But I also try and tell every petitioner that comes into our lodge, hey, you know, there's 6 lodges in this area within 30 minutes here.
That's
Are you
crazy.
sure? Are you sure this is the lodge that you would like to petition? And I tell, anytime I investigate, I tell every petitioner that.
So I feel like that's that thing where when it comes to there's 2 sides to it, right? You've got some people, and I was definitely one. Now, I never openly advocated that I was never not Christian because of the amount of doors that being able to speak on a certain level, advocate in that direction, open. So you got certain people, especially on TikTok, where, you know, they're Satanists, they're a pagan, they're a heathen, they're a blank, 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 blank.
Sure.
Blank. There's a certain level of spiritual maturity, which is very important to get into the universality of morality, right? Yes. Individual religious belief is not separation from the purpose of that religious belief, which is to unite you with a higher self, a moral understanding of your character and merit. I loved the way you said that. In Masonry, you'll hear, especially those, you know, harmony being the strength and support of all institutions, more especially this of ours. Yes. If you disrupt that harmony, the lodge will cease to be and function in the way that it needs to. Yes. It's important to, in a certain space, guard the West Gate. So like, I can kind of go a little full circle on that to say,
but it's not even just about the religion aspect of it either. It's about, do you have the time to put into it? I mean, we can fill our lodges up with dues paying members, and that's absolutely wonderful. But whenever you only have about 15% of your dues paying members showing up to be active, to put on the degrees, they get overworked, they die, life happens. They get in a horrible accident. You might have one senior deacon for your lodge, and that senior deacon gets in a car crash, and he no longer has function of his legs. What are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
what are you going to do? So you need to have active members, and it's a balance between dues paying and active members. But you got to have that. You got to put that in there. And if you don't think the guy is going to be able to do the work required to move forward, maybe he's not right for your lodge. Maybe he's not right for your teachers. We have different instructors in our lodge.
All right, so help me understand the best path for testing, not just the candidate for, because you talked about, how, there's the oral passing and the EA degree for you. Likewise, I think it's really important to set, and shit, I love it, right? If I'm doing a magical rite exclusive from any aspect of Freemasonry, I put all kinds of crazy ass things up in the sense like you need to be able to do this, 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 and this. And if you can't, don't bother showing up. Like I like the line. Where do you set that for those people coming to the lodge or other appendant bodies?
Like, I mean, honestly, what I do is I try and get on every investigation committee I can, unless I'm just absolutely swamped for the next month. If there is an investigation committee, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to raise my hand and be on it. This week was really weird in the Grotto. We have 2 petitioning members this week. Brother Tyler McKenzie, Harpocrates, and then Brother Matthew Holland. Brother Matthew Holland meet on the level. So they're both petitioning the Grotto because they don't have grottos in their state. They're going to take the fezzes back and possibly take Grotto to North Carolina and New Mexico, right? We get this. We know this coming in. I couldn't be on their investigation committee because I happen to be one of their signers. So that kind of sucks.
Got it.
But 9 times out of 10, I will be on that investigation committee. And whenever I go do an investigation with a potential candidate, they are still a potential candidate at that point in my mind. I will go through all of the questions that the Grand Lodge of Texas requires me to ask. I will also go through some other things. I'll say, hey, are you into charity? My lodge, we try and do some scholarships. Are you able to contribute to the scholarship fund? Or are you willing to go out and try and raise money for the scholarship fund? What do you think about getting high schooler scholarships? Oh, well, I didn't really join to do scholarships. Okay. Well, my lodge does maybe 2 to 4 degrees a month. Are you willing to be on the degree team? Can you dedicate an extra day, a little bit more time to get on that degree team? Oh man, I'm really busy at work and blah, 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 blah. Well, I use that answer to go into, okay, well, what's your work schedule look like? Well, my work schedule is this. Okay, cool. Hey, why are you joining McKinsey? Well, my uncle's a part of McKinsey. That's fantastic. Have you ever thought of joining Daylight? Because Daylight meets at Saturday morning. It sounds like your Saturday mornings are completely free. Would you like to join Daylight? Can you wake up at 6:30 in the morning to get to Daylight on a Saturday morning? I don't know. I think I'll stick with McKinsey. Okay, but at least I'm giving them the options, right? And so I'm talking them through it. I'm telling them about my lodge. I'm telling them what my lodge focuses on. My lodge focuses on charity. It focuses on degrees. And we do a little bit of community event with our social media organizations that we run. That's the gist of my lodge. If they only want to meet once a month, I'll tell them to go to another lodge that I know that meets once a month. And it's not bad that lodge meets once a month. That is the culture and the attitude of that lodge. That is what they've embodied themselves as. So, and I do the same thing for churches, right? Like I'm a devout Christian and I happen to work in audio visual integration. So I've put in sound systems and video systems in just about every church in my area and beyond. And whenever I go to a church, I'll get to meet the pastors. I'll get to meet, some of the team members and leaders and everything like that. So if I meet somebody on the road or in the random and they're like, hey, you seem like a really nice guy. Where do you go to church? Where do you and your family go to church? Well, we go here. And we go here because of this and this and this and this. What kind of church are you used to? Oh, I'm more of, I like a little bit of like videos and contemporary music, but I'm more traditional. Oh, well, I know this mixed church down the road. I never try and get anybody to come to my church or my lodge or my building, because that's not what it is. Every brother has a different job. Every lodge has a different job. Every lodge makes up the grand body. Every brother makes up the fraternity.
Ooh. If there could ever be a sexier point to send off to anybody who's listening or watching, whether you're a curious candidate, you're a brother who's seeking more light, or just, joining in on the fraternal conversation, that's one of the biggest parts that I would just like, rewind, write that shit down. Because you look at a house, right? You look at any building, it's not just bricks, right? There's so many different materials which go into it. And it's the power of any master to know how to put those together, fit in harmony wherever you need to fit best for you.
Yes.
Not because where somebody said you should go. Don't hear the come with me. Where do you want to go? Follow the conductor, fear no danger.
There's a problem with the come with me. There's a huge problem with that. The problem with that is that creates division. I can say this because I'm trying to be a member of both lodges. Oh, you're a Mackenzie brother. Oh, you're a Daylight brother. No, we are brothers.
That's
brothers.
right.
That's why you and I were able to meet in person and give each other the biggest hug. We've broken that ice barrier. We knew who we are. We just got to get to know each other now. There's a level of trust when you can shake my hand as a brother. There's that level of trust there. And that level of trust just increases even more when it's face to face, skin to skin. It just evolves from there.
It's real.
Yes, the whole realism of it is it's amazing. But the fact that I know that if I was traveling through Colorado right now, and let's say, let's say I'm in Boulder and I have a flat tire and I've already used my spare, I'm going to call you up. I'm going to say, hey, brother, I am screwed in the pooch right now. What am I going to do? Hold on. I know the lodge up there. I think I met the worshipful master once. I will call him. He will be on his way. Now this guy rolls up in some, Ford F-350. And he pulls up. He's got a spare tire in the back. And he's like, hey, what you doing there, brother? The moment he calls me brother, I know I'm in safety. I know I'm safe and in a brother's hands. But no, it's just that whole realness and everything just makes it so much better. So much better. I need to tell you more about what the Grotto does now today, though, because I forgot to.
Hit me with it there, because that's that part where if it comes to the Grotto, I know it's more than just an acronym.
Yeah.
I know that it's more than it's just this. It's not okay, right? It's more. So to you, in your own words, what is the Grotto?
So the Grotto is actually the fastest growing independent body in America right now, and definitely Texas right now. I think we've opened up 4 in Texas this year, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, it is growing, and it is growing fast. The reason why it's growing fast is we do have our charity that we give to, Special Smiles for Special Kids. And I love this. I love it so much. When you think of Shriners, you think of the Shriners Children's Hospital. And it's fantastic that we can send kids to that hospital and not charge their parents a dime. But it usually means we're going to have to send them off to a city that's unknown and take care of their needs.
Yeah.
Well, with the Special Smiles for Special Kids, we, as the Grotto, the Al Haboob Grotto, find a surgical dentist or pediatrician dentist, whatever they're called, in our area, in our local area. We fill out the paperwork with them, and then we go out and find kids. And these kids are special needs kids, Special Smiles, kids with CP, kids with Down syndrome, kids with cleft palates, anything that would make them feel insecure about themselves. I mean, you think about it. I had horrible teeth as a child.
I'm like, it's an immediate. I know exactly where you are. I'm talking brace face, metal mouth, like
exactly. And even with braces, it's like, do I really want to smile for pictures? Oh, 18, I still have braces on.
I still have photophobia from it. I genuinely, like, every time. I mean, the way I talk, I hide my mouth.
I don't like my smiles. TikTok has made me learn how to smile. Like, honestly, I did not know how to smile before this year. I was so unphotogenic because I'd always do it. Something stupid like that. Now I know how to smile a little bit, and I'm getting better at it. But no, you think about that smile and how important it is. And then you think about how important it is for somebody who might not be able to understand how important it is, So we take those kids, we take them to that dentist in the area, and we get them fixed up with surgery at no cost to them and their parents. And we will do this from ages 0 to beyond 18, because we understand that special kids, some of them can't just stop at 18. they're going to need it for a little bit longer. So we go a little bit beyond 18, but we hook them up with that. And that is fantastic. So of course, whenever I heard about that
I got
charity,
chills,
I was like,
like
yeah,
actual chills. That's so fucking cool.
yeah. And it's like, we had a couple of brothers in there. Like my kid had CP and my kid could really use this. Like we've put a lot of money into them. This would help. And it's fantastic. Let's do it. So love that. Right. And it's something that we can go out and help and find and be a part of, so I love that aspect of it. Secondly, the Grotto is here to support the Blue Lodges. Now, we've talked about the run of appendant bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, when somebody tells me there's less drama in it, I'm like, yeah, right. I've gone to the meetings, I've heard the drama. There's anywhere that there's men involved, there's drama. The shrine,
Facts.
you get to drink some beer while you hear the drama. So, it is what it is. But in the Grotto, we are 100% supportive of Blue Lodges. 100%. In our charge and obligation, we are reminded that we should act in the manner of a Master Mason. What is the manner of a Master Mason? Well, part of it is making sure you take care of your dues, making sure you take care of the lodge, making sure you support your brethren, making sure you follow up to your obligations, making sure you're supporting your brethren's family. That is part of that right there. You got to make sure that the Blue Lodge is taken care of. Without the Blue Lodge, your appendant bodies don't have growth. So if you're complaining that your shrine and your Scottish Rite and your York Rite's not growing, how about you go back to your Blue Lodge and see how they're doing? Those brothers would love for you to check up on them.
Out. I mean, and honestly, you got so many people who like that. You've got the same person who's doing like that degree team is oftentimes some of the most exhausted people, brethren, because they've been doing this for 10, 15 years, same person who's giving the fellowcraft lecture, is like the same. They're always going to do it. His name because he's the only person who's got it memorized, right?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned degree team there, because in Al Habub Grotto, part of the reason why it came into existence is one of the brothers saw my request on my travel page. I had a lodge that said, hey, we got 3 EAs that are ready to go. We do not have enough guys to get them in the lodge today. Oh, you need a degree team. Can you guys come be a degree team? So I requested some friends come out and help and set up a degree. I am a new Master Mason, brand new at this point. I don't know all the parts of a degree. And they're like, yeah, just set it up. Well, okay. How do I set it up? I don't know what parts what. I don't know who does what. Somebody's going to have to help me. So some brothers helped me out. But the first thing that they said whenever they were like, hey, let's start the Grotto is we can do a degree team. Cool. Now I have this body of committed men who are going to come and form this Grotto degree team. We're going to wear our Grotto costumes, right? Because we wear each monarch. The monarch is the person who sits in the east. The person who sits in the east is the worship master. The worship master is basically president of the lodge, to all the profane out there who may still be listening. But we wear these rocked up like 1990s Western shirts, right? I mean, think of Garth Brooks sitting on the back of his 20-year-old F-250 in 1993, right? That's what's going on. We are thunder rolling, baby. That's what it is, okay? So we go in these stupid shirts. We look like idiots, but we put on this amazing degree. And then the newly raised, the newly initiated, the newly passed, whatever brother is like, wow, what are you guys? Well, we're the Grotto. Your lodge couldn't put this degree on by themselves. So we came in, we supported them. Hey, Level Land Lodge, thank you guys so much for letting us be a part of this. We hope that we can help you out in the future. And you know what? We get guys from Level Land who are interested in joining the Grotto, but they're interested in joining the Grotto because they want to be on the degree team that they saw, because the degree team happens to be really, really good. And now they're learning the ritual, and now they're able to support their Blue Lodge more, and now their membership's growing, and our membership's growing.
It's a chain of events, and you talk about it like that. I mean, I'll be honest. Literally, if I read either of my ciphers, there's a particular brethren whose voice is in my head that when I took my degrees, it instills something in you. Like, I don't know how you're a robot.
Oh yeah.
That was, how did you do that? That was so stunningly, like, you never looked at a book once. Like, it sets standards that suddenly they motivate you, it pulls you. It's like gravity. Just
yes.
So when you talk about coming in with a shape and a form, I'm really starting to like this Grotto concept. Of all the appendant bodies I've found thus far, that it's not about degrees, it's not about this space. It's about helping kids who, that smile, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
about supporting the blue.
What happens under the fez stays under the fez, right?
Right.
Usually that's what goes on. That involves raising money. In the Grotto, we're a little bit freer with the way we raise money and how we do it. So if we have a Blue Lodge who comes up to us and says, hey, we need to put a new roof on our lodge, we're thinking about doing this fundraiser. We're going to do a crawfish boil. Awesome. I tell you what, Grotto guys will come out. We will serve the crawfish to your guest. You can give us a little portion of the donations, and then we will help raise some more donations and get them for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. We'll make sure you have a good time and you have the manpower to do it. We can also do, fundraisers through other ways. We can go out there. I mean, we are pretty free and loose. Whereas,
we like them free and loose here at HippieQueen
Yeah. For instance, there is a new rule out, and I only know this because I'm a brand new member, but there is a new rule out that you cannot have a kid in one of the supporting shrine carts anymore. Some Shriner cart units will have a little bit bigger of a support vehicle. They may throw a kid in there or a non-shrine member in there, just show them a good time, have fun and all that. That is not allowed anymore. Cool. We get it. Understand why. In Grotto, if we wanted to do a cart patrol, we could have anybody in there that we wanted. So we're not completely governed in the same way that some of these other bodies have their national governance to them. We're not held down quite as much, and literally we don't even meet in a closed building. We can go to a restaurant. We have 4 tiled meetings a year. Okay, 4 tiled meetings. Tiled means guarded, and for those of you who don't know, so that means that anybody who's not in can't come in. They'll get poked. But we have 4 tiled meetings a year. The rest of our meetings, which are monthly, are held in restaurants. We've had a meeting in a barn. We've had a meeting in a knife shop. We can have a meeting wherever we want. Our family can come with us to these meetings. We'll go to restaurants. We'll sit down and we'll tell the waitress, hey, we're going to need about 20 beers here. It doesn't matter what kind. They will get drunk. Bring them. We sit down.
Good answer.
This is the way it works. We sit down, we start drinking the meeting, we chit chat for just a little bit, decide what we want to order. Okay, does everybody know what they want to order? As soon as we order, we're starting the meeting. We order our food, gavel it down, start the meeting. The wives and kids are still there. But we're just talking about, well, this is how much money we got. This is how much, this is what happened last month's meeting. This is what happened this month, what the plan is for this month, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. We get the work done. If the wives are there, they get bored pretty quick. So we get done even faster. We don't chit chat around, get it done, have some fun, boom. Party in the rest of the night, and we go off and have fun. Now there are some grottos that have their own buildings, and that that's great for them.
Money be money, right? And everybody's got a different approach to it. But I feel like when you're not stopping in pursuit of it, right?
Yes.
But moving to serve, I'm like, okay, all right, I ship it.
But do you see what that does? I wear my fez in my meeting. You know how many times, because this was the first meeting that we had with our fezes because they were on back order for so long. That waitress, the first thing she said is like, what the heck are you guys? Oh, we're the Grotto. What's the Grotto? It's another body of masonry. Oh, Freemasonry still around? Yeah, there's a lodge.
Boom, boom.
Right down there.
Recognition. And being able to be the voice of that narration, that story, by
I'm sorry.
Slap it. We're gonna have a fight with mine later, so don't you worry about it. I feel like that, there was a part in age before we delved into what I would say is like the age of secrecy, the age of silence. It was so important that you exemplified, not just in your actions, but openly, the who and what you were, because that was the system of not recruitment. That was the system of expression, which allowed people to know what roads could be taken, right? If it's all dark, nobody knows where to go. But when it's real bright, you can see the road.
Well, I've been doing a lot of studying on North American Freemasonry.
Love that series, by the way.
Do you?
Get over to Brother Fluff's TikTok, everybody. Start from the beginning, catch up. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I love it. And what I've been reading on is, places like the Green Dragon Tavern, which was not originally built to be a Masonic lodge, but Paul Revere loved it so much that he talked St. Andrew's Lodge into buying it in 1754. And, I was like, oh, cool. Green Dragon Tavern. So they had lodge upstairs. No, they had lodge downstairs. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, they have lodge downstairs. Like, you can't just close a business. have a lodge. Well, they did, but they used chalk, and they used chalk to draw out the lodge room. And they put chairs and tables where they needed to be, sat the brethren around, did the lodge, and then dusted off the floor afterwards. Well, we all know what chalk does. Eventually, it's going to stay a little bit.
Go see those lines.
You ever think that somebody walked into St. Andrew's Lodge at the Green Dragon who came in just stumbling in for a drink, looked at the floor and was like, well, what'd that be right there? What is that?
May just be the beer, but this looks
It
like
may
a
just
line.
I can't walk on it straight, but well, it's 1700s. I don't know my ABCs. But no, I mean, honestly though, you start thinking about that stuff and it's like, yes, they were doing it in secrecy, but it was in the open at a very public tavern. And there's a lot of people walking around who knew what was going on. And one of my things that I just can't get over, and I'm trying to find the proof of it, and I know that it's there. I know that it's there. It's honestly kind of made me want to write like a young man's fictional story book, because it's just right there in my head, and I got the whole idea to it. But it makes me think. I know that Paul Revere got got told that the British were coming by. I can't remember. They come by land? Yeah. No, I can't remember.
They came by sea. British
Oh,
came
they
by
came by
sea.
sea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. They're going up through the channel. They were coming by sea. Paul Revere got that message because there were British soldiers in the Green Dragon Tavern. The Green Dragon Tavern was the place where the Sons of Liberty met, as well as the Masonic Lodge. St. Andrew's Masonic Lodge met. I can't help but think that there were British soldiers involved in that Masonic Lodge in some way, somehow. But it's one of those deals that it goes back to a lot of minutes, and you got to break down a lot of truth and myth, and just make sure that it's true before you say it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what I mean? It's
Hey,
there.
there's a research paper for you, right? If nothing else,
Yeah.
there's a deep fascination, and I've always, because this came up recently when we looked at the war in Ukraine, and because there's a Grand Lodge of Ukraine, there's a Grand
Oh,
Lodge
absolutely.
of Russia, right?
There's
And
lots of scams, guys. Be careful. Be careful.
it's important. You know, there's always a right channel. Check with your secretary. Check with your lodge, right?
Yes.
In any sense of conflict, especially after the revolutionary war in America.
Mm-hmm.
The shot heard around the world. Do you know who heard that shot? Do you know who were the voices of advocacy and change in so many spaces? They were Freemasons.
Yeah.
And because there was this sense of non-authoritarian influence. And I'm always fascinated as to the role that the lodge has played in grand schemes of war. Because my duties to my country. Mm-hmm. Where did those lines get drawn as brethren? And maybe that's what we need to have on our next conversation, brother. Yeah. Is delve into this.
Well, I mean, so Freemasonry during the American Revolution, only 1/3 of the American population was for splitting off from the British Empire. Only 1/3 was for it. The rest were loyalists. The rest were I don't cares. Okay.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So that was 1/3. There were only, if I remember my numbers right, I want to say there were only about 2,200 Freemasons in North America during the beginning of the American Revolution. It increased to like 6,000 by the end of the Revolution.
There's an advocacy cause for you.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, but you got to remember, you got to put it in perspective. The Grand Lodge of England united in 1717. The first lodge in Philadelphia was 1730. And New York claims it too. But Philadelphia, New York, 1730.
I've heard a lot of those Eastern kids make that claim.
Yeah. So 1730 was the first Mason Lodge in America. I think the first person raised in America was part of Alexander. No, not Alexandria. What was the lodge that George Washington was raised? Oh, dang it.
I thought it was Alexandria Lodge, to be honest.
Alexandria was where he attended lodge in Alexandria.
Okay, that's where I was getting confused. It was on you did a feature point on George Washington, and I think that's where the name came from. Let me Google.
Yeah, I cannot remember what lodge it was. As soon as you tell me, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh. But his lodge is actually, the lodge he was raised in is a lodge that didn't have an original number. It was lost to the antiquities of time. Nobody knows when they really started doing Freemasonry. Fredericksburg. So Fredericksburg is where George Washington was raised. But no, these guys, these American revolutionists, these brothers, they were very much embodied in the American Revolution and in Freemasonry. But Freemasonry at that time still wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't big. America took hold of Freemasonry and ran with it.
Oh, facts.
100%.
Shit. I mean, there's especially when you talk to our international brothers, they hear it's like, no, there's American Freemasonry. Like, it's a thing. It's a thing.
North American York Rite, North American Masonry. I mean, Blue Lodge used to be called North American York Rite Masonry. That's what it used to be called. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Every Blue Lodge in America, well, 98%. 98% of the Blue Lodges in America are under a York Rite charter.
Okay.
And this is really funny. Yeah, you can put this one on the YouTubes as well. So this is funny. Widows Miho and I are actually kind of doing some research, pulling up original charters from original lodges, because we want to read how they're spelt out. Because originally you would go from entered apprentice mason to fellow craft mason. There was no master mason degree. You'd go into the mark master mason degree, pass master, and then Royal Arch Mason.
Right.
So that was the way that you advance through the degrees. Because of that, a lot of the York Rite chapters are very specific on the Christian Judeo verbiage there. And so we're on a mission to see when that flipped, when that changed, how, why. And it's been pretty interesting so far. There's a lot of good reading in it.
I'm fascinated by that. I keep me up to date on that progress and search, because I was just talking with our secretary at Neosho 247 about that very same topic, because the Mark Mason is one of those ones, and in general, the lack of completion that you get in the third degree was deeply frustrating to me.
Mark Master is all about the fellowcraft degree, if you want to be completely honest.
Okay, well then maybe I'm thinking of is it the Royal Arch? I think I'm thinking of the Royal Arch then.
Oh, Royal Arch, definitely, yeah.
I think that's the particular where I'm like, no, I felt like I should have been given something at this point, and I wasn't. And they're like, oh, you have to go find it. I'm like, oh, you cheeky.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to let you know right now, you can find it with your 3 degrees.
Okay.
You're just going to be looking for it for a long time.
All right. You know what? I got time. I got time. It takes a lifetime, right?
Exactly. It's a journey. And we're all on our own level.
All right, brother. So as we look at the journey that you've come through to reach this point, and life was such a short period of time, don't you burn out on me, brother. I'll find you. I'll come.
I'm good, man.
What would you leave off, and what would you give to our brethren, our viewers, as we're preparing to send off into space? How do you want to send us off tonight?
How I want to send this off, basically, what I want every brother to remember. Hold on, I'm going to take the fez off for this one. I'm going to take the fez off. I'm going to get fluffy.
Get fluffy, baby.
We're getting fluffy on this one. All right.
I love the hat, by the way.
Dude, so, I used to think that square and compass was my jam. This is my jam right here.
Oh, dude, that symbol. I've got lectures written on that. I'm like.
I love it. I love it so much. So how I'd like to send the brethren off tonight is with a simple charge. Do not become complacent in the ways you're doing things right now. If you feel like it is your time to move on to an independent body, move on to an independent body. If you feel like you need more education, more growth, more light, more knowledge in the Blue Lodge, stay in the Blue Lodge. Be active with the brothers in your community and with the brothers around the world. We are at this very important age and time where we can communicate just like this. Hundreds of miles away, no problem at all. Be active in the Masonic community. Love the brotherhood. Love yourself. Love your God. Love your family. Don't get stressed out about the little stuff, and keep being you. Keep being you.
Ooh,
that's the way I would send it off right there.
I got chills. Oh, that was sexy. Well, as you've heard it proclaimed from the digital east in space, brethren, thank you for joining us. Viewers, if you've got curious questions, ask them. Go follow Brother Fluff on on TikTok. Anyway, Google Brother Fluff. You will find him. He's in literally you. It's a thing. You are top search. You first page, motherfucker. This is impressive.
I'm first page on Google?
Bet. Let me see.
I don't think so. I can't be first page on Google. You're muted.
Well, I was on the wrong tab, but it matches it all the same. You are literally, and I was on an
No
incognito
way.
tab. I'm talking incognito tab. Brother Fluff. Shit's
Oh.
insane.
Your same tab muted again.
I'm gonna fight it. All right. Yeah. Incognito tab.
That's nuts.
Brother Fluff. Boom. First thing. TikTok, Instagram.
That's wild.
This is insane.
I didn't know I was first page.
I'm talking to a first page Google. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to jump into this space. Brother, thank you so much for taking the time. This shit's always crack cocaine to me. I'm going to do it. Look like this.
You're muted again.
Oh, me and this mic, we're going to I'm going to make sure my left hand's strong. It's going to get the grip.
You're muted again.
I'm going to fight this mic, brother. It's going to drive me nuts. So happens when it gets that long.
Going on here.
I'm never worried about it. It's one of my favorite things. You got to have bloopers at the end, right? They got to know that this is
Right.
a legitimate thing.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, kids, stop yelling. I can hear you.
I love it.
I hope that's not on the blooper.
No, hey, who knows what makes it to the blue? I love this. My favorite part about the show is editing in post.
Yeah.